Azazel etymology. Searching for the etymology of a name tends to be very complicated when that name is rare. In this case we have Azazel. In some places Azazel is translated as goat emissary. The problem is that the term as that defines heifer, not goat, and use the term Azel, which would define go away. The problem is they are two goats, not two heifer. The name would not adapt to the system. In addition, Azel does not have derivation systems to use in names, that is, it exists only on its own. And in the term Azazel would have to be attached to another term and derivative. In the Ethiopian book of Enoch Azazel is a fallen angel, and in the Midrash, ancient homiletic commentary on the scriptures, Azazel is a demon. In other words, using the ancient documents, we would have the fallen angel duality and the devil. In fact, the fallen angel can be considered a devil, and so both the reference in the book of Enoch and in the Midrash would be the same thing. In fact, we could accept that the term Azazel is ancient Semitic, and that its origins can be traced back to ancient cultures of the Euphrates. In other words, Tiamat of Gilgamesh could be the representation of Azazel. Now if we focus on ancient data, we would have the term Azazel as the name of a fallen angel as defined by the Book of Enoch, so the term El would be similar to the construction of the names of angels, such as Gabriel, Michael, and others, defining it to come from God. But according to the historical concept would have fallen into disgrace, and thus obtained the classification of the devil. Therefore we have it as a term of derivation from God, as possessor. Different from God's term of description, as Elohim, in which the term El comes earlier. In fact Gabriel, it is not God to have the term him. Now we have Azitz, which could etymologically lead to a Hebrew verb Azitz, which would define the term strong, or powerful. Or it could come from the Semitic root, niz, that in every Semitic spectrum would define disobedient. Or it may come from the verb, uz, coming from the definition of refuge or insurance, because it derives from azitz, which is the strong term. In fact, we either accept a term with a gender error as heifer emissary and deny the Midrash and the Book of Enoch, or we accept as a fallen angel name that becomes a demon and we come into agreement with the Midrash and the Book of Enoch. If we accept that it is an angel name, we would have to opt for the biblical terms that the name would be unchanged, that is, it would not be pejorative because as it's in the biblical term is strong or powerful. Or we could accept the old Semitic term, niz, and define that it would be a disobedient angel. In fact, the correct thing would be not to accept that the Hebrews could not write and put heifer emissary, and according to the Book of Enoch would be a name, and according to the Midrash, would define a devil. And how would the name received as an angel before falling? That is to say, etymologically speaking, Azazel would be the strong or powerful of God. In fact, we could read the verse, "How you have fallen from heaven, O morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations," which could indeed add to the fallen angel. But that same term can be found for a different concept, which is seen in the verse, "I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright morning star." What could happen to two goats, as the verse quotes two morning stars being different in actions, or as the verse star of the morning says? But we will see this in another study.